My fellow geraniums, the Prime Minister of Canada, Jussie Trombone, has been killed by trucks. He'll be sorely missed. Not only was he the first black guy Pez minister, he was a great American, and also a great Muslim guy. Our farts and prayers go out to the not our farts. Look, there's these trucks. They transform. First, I sent Vice Principal Canola Harelip to the planet of the truck people to open a dialogue with Optimus Prime. Second, I've asked Congress to increase my dosage of talkie pills. And finally, I've approved emergency funding to distribute free crack pipes to every man, woman, and transgender. To help us stay alert for when the truck people... They got maple syrup for blood, man.
With leadership like that, you don't have to worry about anything, right? Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. This is Luke Rudkowski here of WeAreChange.org, and we have a lot of really important information to get into, as in this video, we are going to be breaking down and explaining what's really happening in Ukraine, and more importantly, why it's happening, with, of course, a more deeper, complex geopolitical video, specifically breaking down the strategy by Russia, as, of course, there's major implications that are also happening that, of course, will be affecting you. Food prices, the economy, lots of important things to talk about that we're going to be talking about in this video. But before we do that, plus a lot more, the clip that we played in the beginning of this broadcast is by the amazing Kyle Dunningham, who I would say does a better Joe Biden than Joe Biden himself. He does really great work. We're going to link his video and his channel down in the description below so you could subscribe and check out more of his stuff, because it's definitely worth a watch and hopefully allows you to laugh during these very serious times where major media personalities and the corporate media is literally calling for war with a nuclear power. This as Sean Hannity is joining the ranks of fellow neoconservative corporatist media pundits, demanding that the United States attack Russia right now, as I would argue his line of thinking, this kind of American foreign policy thinking, has got us into this mess, as the United States along with the European Union continue to buy oil and energy from Russia, becoming less energy independent, essentially bankrolling this conflict, which is escalating to the point where now Germany and the Netherlands have deployed Patriot air defense missile systems, specifically in Slovakia, which shows that they are definitely taking this situation seriously, just like everyone else should. There's a lot of implications, there's a lot of things hanging in the balance, including, of course, financial markets, global trade, which of course is also being disrupted, specifically when it comes to fertilizer, as we're finding out that there is a major shortage of it, which will only make the price of food go up, as it already has been dramatically going up within the last few years because of reckless monetary policies within Washington, D.C. that were conducted by Biden, Trump, Obama, Bush. We could keep going down the line. All of that reckless spending with money that the United States did not have is coming to a head, and now it's made worse as, of course, Russia is a major supplier of fertilizer on the world stage. This latest conflict in Ukraine disrupts that, as already food prices have been going up dramatically, specifically even with wheat futures soaring high, palm oil prices soaring, and if you just do a little bit of research, you could see the very difficult times that a lot of poor people will be having when it comes to finding and getting sustenance for themselves. What has been the government's response to this? Well, of course, more disruptions to the global economy, as even the Washington Post, Jeff Bezos' Amazon newspaper, wrote an article about this titled "Why the Enormous Scale of Financial Pain Being Inflicted on Russia Worries Some in the West," as of course there's a lot of implications here. But the sanctions continue against Russia and even Russian individuals, as we're finding out that some people are having their homes seized, their jets seized, and even yachts seized, as of course we're finding out that in Germany, a Russian oligarch just had his $600 million boat confiscated by the German government. The United States still wants more sanctions, as it's even thinking about implementing them on India, who of course is a trading partner with Russia, especially with their military equipment. Now, what's going to happen in the larger financial picture? Well, of course, no one knows, but I think it's fair to say that things will definitely get a lot worse before they get better. This even according to the French President Emmanuel Macron, who's telling everyone to prepare for the worst after, of course, he just had a phone call with the president of Russia, Vladimir Putin. As we've been speculating through our reports that this conflict will be more drawn out, longer than a lot of people have expected, and it definitely looks like that's the case. This is the type of stuff that we've been discussing on LukeUncensored.com. If you haven't joined this platform, what are you waiting for? We just released a very important video with a prominent doctor on that platform, which you could exclusively hear only on LukeUncensored.com. And today, we're going to be giving you yet another important update from this doctor, other doctors, and also the latest bombshell revelations about Melinda Gates blowing the dam wide open on the cozy relationship that Mr. Bill Gates had with some of the most nefarious, nastiest, disgusting human beings on the face of this earth. Lots of spicy things to get into. We could only talk about these topics specifically on LukeUncensored.com. Click the link right now and join the conversation later on today, as of course we're going to be expanding operations and creating a communication platform where all of us will get to talk and strategize with each other about solutions and helping each other out. All of that, LukeUncensored.com. Now, when it comes to the awful situation that the world is dealing with inside of Ukraine, we have to understand that this didn't happen out of nowhere. This is something that has been building for over 15 years. This is, of course, something that people hope goes away in days, but most likely will continue for a lot longer than a lot of people expect it to. This is, again, something we've been alluding to. This is something that we had conversations on, and this is definitely surmised pretty well by Nafis Ahmed in his latest article that's called Ukraine is Just the Beginning. Secret Documents Reveal Putin's Long War on Europe, where he specifically brought up underreported internal U.S. military analysis suggesting that what's happening right now has all been in the making and in the plans for 15 years in retaliation to, of course, the NATO expansion on Russia's doorsteps. Now, some corporate media military analysts have described what Putin is doing as kind of a failed blitzkrieg. In yesterday's video, we talked about how this might be more of a deliberate long haul and action by the president of Russia, and it looks like that's the case, as of course shelling has dramatically increased in Ukraine, and it looks like it will continue to escalate, as of course it looks like Russia is methodically taking over cities in Ukraine one by one. This, as just moments ago, the first Ukrainian city fell under Russian control, where the mayor of that city just told residents to obey the Russians, as he has publicly asked the Russians not to shoot civilians. The Russians are now alleging that the Ukrainians are, quote, using human shields. This as Russia has just been accused of bombing family homes. And as I've speculated before, I do believe that this is only the beginning of this conflict, which soon might spill over to Moldova. I'll tell you why in just a little bit. But we have to keep asking ourselves, why is this happening? Why is Russia doing this? Why did they aggress against Ukraine? Well, geopolitically, I think it's important to understand the interests of Russia. This, as right now, Russia is recording its largest decline in population during peacetime in recorded human history. The population of Russia is declining dramatically, and because of that, there's a lot of serious implications that it looks like Vladimir Putin is trying to get ahead of. Russia also recently annexed Crimea, a peninsula here on the south of Ukraine, which the Ukrainians have cut off water to, which has made Russia holding Crimea more expensive for them, as of course life becomes more difficult as Russia has been importing water through a man-made bridge that they had to build from Crimea into, of course, Russia. The Russian invaders have just finally turned on the river to Crimea, which of course will provide drinking water that Russia no longer will have to import, as Russia was just finally able to open up that major waterway after, of course, sending their troops in the region. Now, is this the first ever water conflict? No, I think that's a caveat. I think there's two other big reasons to why Russia is invading Ukraine. One, there has been some speculation that Ukraine is sitting on a ton of natural gas and energy, which could potentially turn it into a major petrostate, which of course would directly compete with Russia, as Russia's economy, as Russia's military, as Russian life is pretty much dependent on the selling of energy to, of course, Europe and the United States. Now, of course, Ukraine was not able to mine this resource themselves, but it looked like companies like Shell and Exxon were going to get involved and start gas exploration in the region, which would have absolutely changed the international politics on its head and changed things dramatically for Ukraine and Russia. The Guardian even wrote an article questioning if Putin's invasion of Ukraine was about fossil fuels, as of course it would question the Russian petrostate, put one on its doorsteps, and absolutely obliterate and destroy the Russian economy in future. As of course, Russia is a world power, specifically because it is a petrostate, as otherwise its economy and GDP is similar to, of course, the one of Italy. And now, especially after the United States turned Ukraine under the sphere of influence for NATO, the European Union, and the United States against, of course, Russia, this also would create a situation where Russia could be easily invaded. As, of course, previously, when Ukraine was under the sphere of influence of Ukraine, it was able to provide somewhat of a natural barrier, especially with this mountain range that protected it from, of course, other foreign invaders just walking into their country. With Ukraine gone, with possible military installations from NATO being installed in Ukraine, Russia, of course, sees this as a huge threat, and this is why Moldova is still possibly in play here and is currently preparing to defend itself, as, of course, the president of Belarus presented a map showing a battle plan that would show Russia attacking Moldova. Why would this happen? Well, Moldova, also a former Soviet satellite, also with Russian separatist states within it, ensures that Russia is fully protected by this mountain range from, of course, foreign invaders just walking in. Moldova now is asking, along with Georgia, to be a part of the European Union. Who knows if they will be accepted or not. But since Madeleine Albright's foreign policy instituted in 1998, NATO and other military installations have been put on the Russian border, which of course they see as a threat against their existence. Now, of course, a lot of military strategists have speculated that Russia would just take over the Donbass region and call it a day. This full-scale invasion, which Putin called a limited military action, is something that's a lot bigger, and I think could definitely spill over to other countries like Moldova, as of course to solidify the defenses of Russia, which of course they've been planning on doing ever since NATO was expanding. Belarus, of course, under the sphere of influence of Russia, provides them a cushion. They want more of a cushion to Ukraine, which would, of course, also protect their energy resources in the south of Russia, which is the lifeline of its country, which Germany and the United States still buy and finance the Russian military through. Now, strategically, geopolitically, this is just the current understanding of this situation. I might have gotten it wrong, but people need to also understand, does this excuse the larger aggression made by Russia? Absolutely not. War is horrible. It should be avoided at all costs. There is no winner of wars. War is hell. And just as John Paul II said, war is a failure of civilization. I absolutely concur with him. And with this video, I'm just trying to make you understand what's happening here, because I think if we fully understand it, we could somehow try to prevent it. And right now, I think we should be trying to prevent the horrible situation that the people of Ukraine are paying the ultimate price for, which is an absolute tragedy. We can only hope and pray that the situation de-escalates from here, but from everything that we're seeing from the writing on the wall, it looks like it won't. We could only pray and hope from here, and for some people, that's the only thing that they have left. If you think I helped you understand this complex situation somewhat, share this video with your friends and family members. It means the world to me. If it wasn't for you guys sharing, I wouldn't be here. I still got a lot more to say. I got a lot of other things to get into. I'm going to be getting into that specifically on lukeuncensored.com. Make sure to watch the video today. We released a lot of different interviews on that platform this week as well. Don't forget to catch up on all of those. And if you're looking for more perspective and understanding, make sure to watch our previous video about this specific topic, which we get into even more detail about. Watch this video right now. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you, and this is why I love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on wearechange.org.